16-year-old Sarah Yarborough is being remembered as talented, creative, and kind.
Sarah was an A student at the high school.
Whenever you saw Sarah, she always had a smile.
This case is about a 16-year-old girl who had the right to grow up. This case is about Sarah and everything that she should have been allowed to become.
It was Friday the 13th in December of 1991. Her parents were out of town for her brother's soccer game. She stayed home.
I was reluctant to leave Sarah. She didn't want to come, of course, because she had her whole weekend planned out. So she had a friend come over and stay with her that weekend.
We went to a basketball game, went and got junk food at the grocery store, a little bit of fast food. You know, we're 16, we were carefree. There was absolutely nothing that would make any of us think that the next morning everything would change.
So Saturday morning, Sarah woke up kind of in a panic.
She woke up and said, "I'm late for practice."
She put on her drill team uniform and ran out the door.
She went to the school and discovered that she was early. So she parked in her car and waited for the rest of her team to show up.
Shortly after the phone call started, "Where's Sarah? Do you know where she is?"
Sarah was found within an hour.
Where was her body discovered?
So her car was still in the parking lot. Her body was approximately 100 yards away, still on the school property. Part of her clothing was removed. She had nylon stockings tied in a ligature around her neck.
I just remember just saying, "Not Sarah, not Sarah, not Sarah," over and over again.
The suspect is a white male, 6 feet tall, with a medium build.
They had DNA evidence, they had everything. They had witnesses.
In that first week or so, it sounded like they had so much evidence. You know, for at least a short while, it felt like,
Of course they're
going to catch him. And then when they didn't, your expectations change.
You don't know if it's your next door neighbor. You don't know if it's some random stranger. There was that constant fear of, is this going to happen again?
We literally had a monster in the community, and we didn't know who it was.
How often do you think about December 14th, 1991, and what happened on that day?
Quite a bit. It's a very traumatic thing to go through.
It's been over 30 years, but the details of that day have never faded for Drew Miller.
I had my friend spent the night at my house. We woke up that morning, watched cartoons, ate cereal, left to go skateboarding.
Drew, who was just 13 at the time, lived down the street from Federal Way High School near Seattle, Washington.
The school grounds have changed quite a bit, right?
Drastically, yes. The tennis court's the only thing that's still here.
Drew often took shortcuts through the school to go skateboarding, as he and his friend did that day.
We used to hop the fence right here and cut through here. It was freezing cold that day. I mean, there was ice in all of the mud puddles. We just, started smashing them because it's fun. It sounds like breaking glass.
That's when Drew says they noticed a man in the bushes.
Right where you see the edge of this dugout right here, that was all bushes that were probably this tall. So we couldn't see him until he stood up. He's just staring at us from the bushes. That was pretty jarring, but then he just walked out of the bushes. So then we just assumed he's just smoking weed or something.
The mysterious man kept to himself and walked ahead of the boys. Drew says they didn't think much of it until they came across a horrendous scene. There in the bushes, where the man had just been, was the body of a young woman.
It was horrible, absolutely horrible. The way that he left her body, she clearly fought for her life.
Drew says his shock turned to fear when he realized the man, who was still just feet in front of them, was now staring directly back at him.
Does that look still haunt you?
Oh, yeah. It's frozen in my mind.
The boogeyman, then?
Legitimate boogeyman.
The boys raced to Drew's house, and police were called to the scene.
When we approached the victim, on one of the pieces of clothing, we saw the name Sarah.
Detective Scott Strathy with the King County Sheriff's Office was one of the first officers on the scene.
And of course, later we found out that that was Sarah Yarborough. Even for experienced investigators, this scene was really hard to deal with. Just the innocent nature of this young woman in her school drill team uniform, with her hot curlers still in her hair. This was just pure, unadulterated evil.
Investigators believed this was a sexually motivated murder.
She was partially clothed. Her jacket, her undergarments, her bra had been removed and placed next to her body.
Police discovered that the car Sarah had driven that morning was parked in the school parking lot, about 300 feet from where her body was found.
There didn't really appear to be any sort of a struggle in the car itself.
Detective John Free with the King County Sheriff's Office Major Crimes Unit would later join the investigation.
She had a container of orange juice that she had made that morning. It was just sitting in the front seat. Nothing was tipped over. So the question was, how did she get from her car to this hill? What led her there?
Sarah was one of these people that would help anyone with anything at any time. And part of our working theory was she coaxed into following, the suspect? Did he say something like, "I'm looking for my lost dog," or "I can't find my car keys"? Perhaps Sarah, in an attempt to assist this person, may have followed him to that area.
Tell me about this one.
That was less than a week, I think, before she died. I said, "Could I take your picture? Because your great-grandma really wants a picture of you in your drill team outfit." She goes, "Okay." It was just too incredible to believe that it could even happen.
Sarah's parents, Laura and Tom Yarborough.
I mean, who thinks that your daughter's going to be murdered?
Tom and Laura had the excruciating task of having to tell their two sons the tragic news. Sarah's youngest brother, Andrew, was just 11 years old at the time.
At that age, you probably never seen or heard your parents cry much, but that pain in the voice is very, very vivid.
Sarah, who had just started her junior year in high school, had big plans for her future, starting with college.
She didn't want to go to a state school. She wanted to go to a school far away. She loved to travel.
I actually would hear her say, "I can't decide if I want to be a museum curator or an engineer like my father."
Yep.
And I was always rooting for the museum curator.
Liberty Barnes, Christy Gutierrez, Amy Perotti, and Mary Beth Tomey were some of Sarah's closest friends.
So this was after the last day of 10th grade, when we're just kind of goofing around afterwards. And that totally, you can see there's Sarah right in the middle of it, just being goofy.
The fiery red hair. Was that her personality?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
She was artistic, she was creative, she was smart, she was feisty.
Imaginative.
All of those things.
She would be the last one to wait for someone. Always be there with a smile. She would help with homework. It was her ultimate kindness.
After Sarah was ripped from their lives, they say their sense of safety was gone forever.
You grow up getting all the safety conversations with your parents, and bad things can happen, and it's all this sort of like vague possibility out there, and then all of a sudden it was like, no, 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 it can really happen. Yeah. It really did just happen.
It was all hands on deck. The sheriff's office put everything they had into solving this case as soon as they could.
And the killer left behind important evidence. Sarah had not been raped, but the killer's DNA was found on pieces of her clothing.
There was semen found on her underwear and on her jacket. We had a full male DNA profile.
DNA technology was new back in 1991, but investigators hoped that DNA would someday lead them to Sarah's killer. In the meantime, they had eyewitnesses.
I thought for sure somebody would know him.
Drew and his friend who was with him the morning they found Sarah's body worked with police, and a sketch of the man they saw in the bushes was released to the public. Police would later release a more elaborate sketch.
I very vividly remember going through yearbooks going, okay, who looks like this sketch? Everyone, it felt like at one point was a suspect.
But as days went by and as leads dried up, police kept coming back to Drew and his friend.
They just made me feel like I was the only person that could help them solve this. I know that wasn't the intent. Like, you know, the officers are just doing their best.
How much pressure were you feeling?
It's unimaginable pressure.
And despite everyone's best efforts, it would take years to find Sarah's killer.
This case was never forgotten.
In early June of 1993, 1.5 years after Sarah Yarbrough's murder, local media were there as students gathered in the courtyard of Federal Way High School to honor her.
Bill Fuller, a family friend who helped spearhead the move for a memorial to remember Sarah, unveiled it with help from Sarah's younger brother, Andrew.
It was quite a day. A lot of tears as they looked at it and could see Sarah in that bench.
Bill Fuller has known the Yarbroughs for years, and his daughter was in Sarah's class.
Sarah was fun to be around. That was probably what we missed the most, is she was fun to be around.
The bench reads Carpe Diem, seize the day, a mantra Sarah lived by. Encased in bronze are some of her favorite possessions, ballet shoes, a replica of Sarah's beloved dog Gibby, and books.
Nice that people cared about her so much.
Andrew Yarbrough, now an adult, admits that he struggled as a young teenager. It was especially difficult to see those sketches around town of the man police believed murdered his sister.
You know, there was drawings of the person's face all over in businesses in town. You know, I do recall that quite a bit, just having that kind of a constant reminder.
Looking back, I feel like we didn't do a very good job with the boys. I think that we were so consumed by our own grief that we didn't take time to help them.
I think we didn't really know how to help them. I mean, it wasn't something we had experience with. We didn't know anything about grieving ourselves or how to help them through it.
And they weren't alone in their grief. Shannon Grant, the last friend to see Sarah alive, says she lived with constant regret.
I wish we could go back and do it all over again. That I would have asked the other drill team members what time practice was, you know, maybe dropped her off. I mean, there's a lot of the what ifs.
The milestones were especially painful.
There was survivor guilt. Like, why am I filling out my college applications when Sarah wanted to go to college? This isn't fair.
Every joyful occasion had this sorrow that went with it. That was, there's one missing from the crowd here.
Graduation day, June 12, 1993, was an emotional day, but even more so since it fell on what would have been Sarah's 18th birthday. Laura Yarbrough came to support her daughter's friends.
I do not know where she found the strength to do that.
She loved that green dress, right? Yeah, she wore green quite a bit with her hair.
Laura Yarbrough says Sarah's friends helped ease her grief somewhat, and she thinks she filled the void for them as well.
Sometimes they would say, well, I'm going to date this person, and I just wanted to let you know because I wasn't sure if Sarah would approve of this person.
So they would seek approval through you. You became sort of their surrogate.
Yes.
As life slowly moved forward, investigators kept working the case.
I describe it as like a relay race where the baton was handed off from one detective to the next over the years and decades. I kind of refer to myself as the fifth Beatle in this investigation.
By the early 2000s, investigators had received over 3,000 leads, and advances in technology made them hopeful. They entered the DNA from the crime scene into the recently established CODIS system, a national DNA database that includes profiles of convicted offenders.
The strategy was to continually try to see if there would ever be a match while also investigating leads.
But over time, there appeared to be no match.
For us to have DNA evidence from the suspect but not have that linked to anybody, it just didn't make sense. It seemed hard to believe that the suspect hadn't committed any other prior crimes where his DNA wouldn't be in the system.
That's when he says detectives realized they had to go in a different direction.
My name's Colleen Fitzpatrick, and I'm one of the pioneers of forensic genetic genealogy.
In 2011, investigators reached out to Fitzpatrick to inquire about using forensic genetic genealogy, the practice of using software to compare unknown DNA profiles to information from public DNA databases and searching family trees to identify suspects. Genetic genealogy is well known now and has been used to solve numerous cold cases, but at that time, it was in its infancy.
When I started in this field, it didn't exist.
Fitzpatrick says most police agencies had been skeptical of this new investigative tool.
The police thought I was crazy, you know, this little old lady with a crazy idea, and I was actually almost laughed out the room.
But the King County Sheriff's Office took a chance on Fitzpatrick.
It was for free. I just wanted to see if it worked. What are you going to lose if you try something?
The Yarbroughs were encouraged.
I think it wasn't until we met Colleen Fitzpatrick that I really began to think, oh, you know, they're going to find this person.
And it didn't take long before Fitzpatrick came up with the name of a possible suspect that surprised just about everyone.
Everyone went, no way.
From the beginning, it was very promising. And the story took some really bizarre twists.
In 2011, 20 years after Sarah's murder, when forensic genetic genealogist Colleen Fitzpatrick started working the Yarbrough case, she traced Sarah's killer's family tree back to a man named Robert Fuller, whose family had come to America on the Mayflower.
I found numerous matches to the name Fuller.
When Fitzpatrick gave the name Fuller to the King County Sheriff's Office, they immediately knew of one person with that last name. Bill Fuller, the Yarbrough's close family friend, who helped get that memorial bench built for Sarah.
Naturally, that piqued our interest.
From the beginning, Sarah's family and friends believe Bill Fuller had nothing to do with Sarah's murder.
He didn't look at all like the suspect. The wrong hair color, he's short, he's not tall. He just didn't fit the profile at all.
Fuller's age didn't match the profile either. He's 79 years old now, but was 48 years old at the time of Sarah's murder, at least 2 decades older than the man Drew Miller described.
There was no way that I could be even remotely connected to the case.
He fully cooperated with police and voluntarily gave them a DNA sample. It didn't match the DNA found at Sarah's crime scene. Yet Fitzpatrick remained optimistic.
The good news is that we came up with a possible last name to investigate, and this was the first break in the case in 20 years.
Fitzpatrick knew that Sarah's killer was in the Fuller family tree somewhere, so she and her team went back to work. And as the years went by, she knew she was only getting closer, especially after 2018, when forensic genetic genealogy was used to identify the Golden State Killer.
Golden State Killer really started the big revolution. Things had evolved that we had the data to work with. The technology was in place that we could go for it.
Then in September of 2019, Fitzpatrick's team made a breakthrough. They came up with 2 new possible suspects, brothers Edward and Patrick Nicholas, who, as the DNA showed, were distant cousins of Bill Fuller.
You know, this is 8 years of on and off and looking at it, never giving up. This is it. This is exciting.
Edward Nicholas was a registered sex offender. His DNA was in the system, it was in CODIS.
But Edward's DNA wasn't a match, so they zeroed in on his brother Patrick, who in 2019 was a divorced loner who lived a couple of towns away from Federal Way.
We learned that he was working at an auto parts store, lived alone, no children, no friends or acquaintances that would even visit him. Everything that he did was mostly by bus. He wasn't driving.
Detective Ree says he discovered that when Sarah was murdered, the bus route Nicholas often took happened to go past Federal Way High School. Back then, Nicholas was just 27 years old, and around that time looked very much like the description of the sketch.
It looked promising at that point, but we still needed to get a DNA sample from him to match up to the DNA evidence that we had.
So in late September 2019, investigators came up with a plan.
We assigned a team of undercover detectives to start doing surveillance on Patrick Nicholas in the hopes of obtaining a surreptitious DNA sample.
Eventually, undercover detectives followed Nicholas to a laundromat.
They saw him go outside and smoke a cigarette, and Patrick Nicholas was seen throwing the cigarette butt on the ground. That was collected by our detectives.
That's what you needed.
Yes.
Right there, that cigarette butt.
Yes. Actually, he dropped 2 cigarette butts and a napkin that fell out of his pocket, and all 3 items were collected.
The DNA samples were rushed to the crime lab, and within days, detectives received the call they had been waiting for.
The DNA matched. This was our suspect.
Perfect match.
Yes.
Patrick Nicholas was arrested.
There were so many suspects over the years. Was Patrick Leon Nicholas ever named as a suspect?
Out of 4,000 tips, he was never named.
I was pretty in shock.
The news was a relief for Sarah's family and friends, who had never given up hope that they would get answers.
One thing the detectives kept telling us was, eventually technology is going to solve this case. I trusted that, and they turned out that they were right.
And I remember going out to my car and bawling, just bawling. Finally, they got him.
When Drew Miller, who had seen Sarah's killer back in 1991, saw Patrick Nicholas's face, he says he knew they had the right person.
What did he look like?
The same guy, just older. Just the same evil
face.
eyes. Those evil eyes stayed the same.
All these years later.
Yeah.
But it was not over yet.
Why do you think you're here? I have no clue.
During his interrogation,
Who are you in charge for?
when detectives specifically asked him about Sarah's murder, he gave an alarming response.
What we're investigating is the death of a young girl. Her name's Sarah Yarborough.
Interestingly, he asked what year this was, and that really sent up a flag.
Why?
Why would you ask that? He's being told this is a murder case. We're wondering at this point, are there other victims?
This is it. I'm not going to say anything.
After 1.5 hours, Nicholas asked for an attorney and stopped talking. But his criminal record would speak volumes.
I am the one that got away.
On a quiet morning in June 1983, 8 years before Sarah's murder, 21-year-old Ann Croney was sitting by her car along the Columbia River in Richland, Washington, when a man approached her.
He seemed normal, kind of friendly, actually, just friendly. I had asked him if he'd done any water skiing yet, because he said he had just moved to town, and he said he couldn't swim. And he said, "My name is Pat Nicholas."
After a few minutes of small talk, she became uncomfortable.
I noticed his voice was getting shaky, and I told him I had to go. I went to close the door, and he put a knife to my throat. Everything kind of stopped at that moment. He told me to take my clothes off.
Nicholas stuffed Ann's underwear into her mouth to prevent her from screaming, forced her out of the car, and led her to the riverbank.
We got about halfway down the bank, and he told me to stop. I ran and dove in the river because I was thinking he couldn't swim. Swam as hard as I could.
Swam for your life.
I swam for my life.
Passers-by found Ann at a dock nearby and called police. As it turns out, 19-year-old Patrick Nicholas was no stranger to law enforcement and had a record. He had raped 2 women and attempted to rape a third.
He'd been convicted of rape as a juvenile and had actually only just been out for a few months when he attacked me.
Days after Ann's attack, he was tracked down, arrested, and pled guilty to attempted rape. He told authorities, "I realize that I have a problem concerning raping girls." At his sentencing hearing, Ann spoke out.
I was actually very angry and asked the judge for the maximum sentence. And the judge did agree and sentenced him to 10 years. So I thought it was over. I thought that justice had been served.
But Patrick Nicholas did not serve the full 10 years in prison. He was released after just 3.5 years. Ann was never notified. She barely thought of him again until October 2019.
The police knocked on my door and said that there were detectives in Seattle that wanted to talk to me about a cold case.
They informed Ann that Patrick Nicholas had been arrested again, this time for the murder of Sarah Yarborough.
They told me that there were similarities in the cases, and I was crushed. It had never occurred to me that what I escaped from was a murder.
What's more, if Nicholas had served his full prison sentence, he would have still been behind bars that December morning in 1991, unable to murder Sarah Yarborough.
How angry are you to hear that he was released that early? And
Very. It brought up a lot of the old anger and even more anger because the system failed.
King County Deputy Prosecuting Attorneys Celia Lee and Mary Barbosa describe him as a serial predator with a clear pattern.
All of the women were approached at or near their car. He would strike up conversation and then pull a knife and tell them that they needed to walk, where he would order them to take off their clothes and then rape them.
Nicholas had also been convicted of sexually assaulting a minor in 1994, 3 years after Sarah's murder. 5 sexual assaults that investigators knew of, none of which had required him to submit his DNA, so there was no record of him in the CODIS database. But in pretrial hearings, the judge ruled that Nicholas's criminal history could not be entered in as evidence.
She found that it would be unfairly prejudicial to the defendant.
But the prosecutors were hopeful their case was strong enough.
All rise for the jury.
In early 2023, more than 30 years after Sarah Yarborough's murder, her accused killer, now 59 years old, went on trial. Sarah's childhood friends were there.
I so clearly remember the morning before the trial started just going, I don't know if I can do this. Like, you know, I had so many different emotions flowing through, and it was like, no, we need to be there.
There was this absolute love for Sarah and the Yarboroughs that was so strong.
Did you feel like they were a lifeline for you?
Yeah.
Be seated.
You weren't in it alone. You were all in it together.
As the trial got underway, the focus was on the DNA.
What was your strategy then in trying this case?
Well, we needed them to trust the science.
There was a field that was emerging called forensic genetic genealogy.
Patrick Nicholas's public defender, David Montez, challenged how forensic genetic genealogy was used to first identify Nicholas.
I want to dig into the science because
The first time that kind of defense had been used in Washington state.
they use technology that is not only unproven, but just wacky, really. He's not the person that killed Sarah. The police needed an answer more than they needed the right answer. And so they turned to new, novel, untested technology. Genetic genealogy is a new field. It really hasn't been tested out. Should we be making important decisions based on something that is not well or deeply understood?
But the prosecutors said that argument was moot because Patrick Nicholas's DNA matched the DNA found at the Yarborough crime scene. And Detective Free says the numbers were astronomical.
The odds were 1 in 120 quadrillion that...
Quadrillion, yeah.
Right, that it was somebody else.
If the numbers pointed to Nicholas's guilt, law enforcement says so did evidence found at his house near the time of his arrest in 2019.
It was almost like a lair. There was no working electricity at this house, stacks of pornography all throughout the place. We also found a newspaper from 1994 that had on its front page an article about the Sarah Yarborough case. And going through one of the kitchen drawers, we found a torn photograph taken from a magazine, a woman in a cheerleading outfit.
When the prosecutors showed that photo in the courtroom, the oxygen left the room.
Yeah.
Montez downplayed their significance.
I think both of those pieces of evidence were not especially strange given the general state of his house. There were stacks and stacks of newspapers all over his house.
This is evidence tape.
Patrick Nicholas didn't flinch as the evidence was shown, showing no emotion throughout the trial. But Sarah Yarborough's presence was felt, especially when now retired Captain Scott Strathy carefully unpackaged and displayed Sarah's clothing that had been in storage for over 30 years. Her drill team jacket, shoes, sweater, even her nylon stockings.
This was like opening a time capsule.
All of a sudden, they were real things. They weren't even photographs. They were the things she had on her body when she died. You sort of felt yourself crumble.
After 9 long days of testimony, the case went to the jury.
All eyes for the jury.
It took them just over a day to reach a verdict.
I was shaking, and like just that, like there was so much adrenaline and so much anticipation.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Patrick Leon Nicholas.
Everything just dropped, and it's like, what?
Why do you think it took law enforcement so long to identify Patrick Nicholas as a suspect? Take a look at a timeline of the case at 48hours.com.
The
This is the state of Washington versus Patrick Leon Nicholas.
Sarah Yarbrough's loved ones had waited over 30 years for this moment.
We, the jury, find the defendant,
But then,
Patrick Leon
shock.
Nicholas, not guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree, premeditated.
Patrick Nicholas was found not guilty of the first charge, premeditated first-degree murder.
I remember dropping my head to my hands. I was angry, I was in disbelief.
When that first one came in not guilty, I closed my eyes.
But there were other charges, and there was still hope of a conviction.
Guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree, guilty in the second degree.
Patrick Nicholas was found guilty of first-degree murder and second-degree murder. The jury ruled both had been committed with a sexual motivation.
I remember hearing the family behind me cry, and I made eye contact with the jurors and nodded at them. You know, they got it right.
I feel so grateful for those detectives, for the boys, for the previous victims, for every witness who took the stand. So grateful that all these people came together.
2 weeks after Nicholas's conviction, dozens of people who had been involved in every part of Sarah's case gathered back at the courthouse for his sentencing hearing. Prosecutors asked the judge to impose extra time to take into account all of Nicholas's crimes.
The sentencing hearing was exhilarating in a way that I never expected. It was probably the most raw human courage I have ever seen in my life.
Sarah's death left our family broken, and we've never been the same.
The pain in my father's voice over the phone telling me Sarah was dead.
Person after person took to the podium to say all that Patrick Nicholas had taken from them.
Coming face to face with pure evil that day has deeply impacted my entire life.
He took her life and what was sure to be a brilliant future from her. In taking Sarah, he took the innocence of every one of us.
To face Patrick Nicholas and to say what they had been wanting to say to his face for 30 years.
Patrick Nicholas is pure evil.
There was so much power in the room. It was electric.
And then Ann Croney, who wasn't allowed to testify at Sarah's trial, started speaking.
He just did like a double take and shuddered when Ann stood up.
Like he saw a ghost.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sure he didn't expect to ever see my face or hear my name ever again.
We rely on a system of justice that is designed to protect us from predators like Nicholas. And this system failed me, it failed Sarah, her family, friends, and countless others. I ask the court to please not make the same mistake.
After everyone spoke, Judge Josephine Wiggs addressed the court.
When I think about this poor child, and what she experienced fighting for her life.
Judge Wiggs put her fist on the thing and said, "This was a child." She kept saying that, and all I could think was,
oh my gosh.
That's right. We were children.
Yep.
Nicholas received a sentence of almost 46 years. For Sarah's family and friends, the sentence brought mixed emotions.
I don't know that this is justice. It is a verdict, and it is putting someone away for something that they did. But he got 30 years that she didn't get.
It makes me mad that he was free for so many years, and who knows, however many other people were hurt during that time. I don't know that we'll ever know, and that could have been avoided.
Forensic genetic genealogy helped solve Sarah's case, but prosecutors say similar technology could have identified Patrick Nicholas years earlier if only familial DNA searches were allowed in Washington state. In a familial DNA search, an unknown DNA sample is compared against profiles already in CODIS to search for possible family members. Remember, Patrick Nicholas's brother's DNA had been in CODIS for years.
The legislation just doesn't exist in this state to allow that search.
California uses it. The UK, as I understand,
New York, Wisconsin,
New York,
Minnesota, Colorado, Florida.
Do you think it's time to get that law changed?
We do.
Me too.
The Yarboroughs agree and hope that Sarah's case can make a difference.
I would like to know that other parents don't have to wait 30 years.
What do you hope her legacy is?
I think her legacy is she was always someone who brought people together. She's brought all the people together that attended the trial. That's the kind of person she was.
For Drew Miller, who at 13 found Sarah's body, the connections made at trial finally brought him some peace.
Knowing he's in prison is fantastic, but knowing her family and friends is way more important to me, because that's what's given me the actual healing that I needed.
This is probably the beginning of our junior year.
Sarah's friends will always remain bonded by the past and Sarah's stolen future.
Not only was she beautiful, her soul was beautiful, and the grace and the beauty that she carried and left with all of us, we won't forget her. We will never forget her.
New CBS Next.
He's not breathing.
A surgeon's girlfriend found dead.
He provided those drugs.
Was this a case of a controlling doctor's depravity?
This was not just some simple accident. This was much more.
A new 48 Hours, next on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
What is your emergency?
Shots fired.
What is your name?
My name is Renard Spivey. Me and my wife had an argument. I accidentally shot her.
You accidentally shot her?
Yeah.
Houston police. Where you at, ma'am?
Sir?
Yeah.
Back here.
All right, where's the weapon?
Right here.
Stay away from it. I don't want to see it in your hand, you understand? Where's she at?
Okay, what's... on the floor. Yeah.
Where you
okay. His leg.
All right.
Shot in the leg.
Okay.
We was arguing, tussling with the gun, and we had been arguing all day.
Okay, go ahead and put your hands behind your back, okay? This guy's there with you.
Renard Spivey was a longtime deputy sheriff, and the deceased was his wife, Pat or Patricia Spivey.
Spivey, who also worked for a time as a TV judge show bailiff, is now charged with his wife's murder.
There was a lot of publicity because he had been on a very popular reality TV show, Justice for All with Christina Perez.
All rise. Court is now in session.
He was the perfect person in front of everybody else. I think he thought the camera was always on.
When it comes to how your mom died, do you think it was accidental?
No, it didn't make sense. It didn't line up.
The security cameras, how important were the security cameras and the evidence?
I think they were very important. On the surveillance, you clearly hear the 3 gunshots.
1, 2, 3.
The prosecution's theory is that he shot her and then shot himself to cover it up.
You don't accidentally shoot someone more than once.
Was the autopsy consistent with an accidental shooting?
Well, ultimately, I guess that's the million-dollar question.
Whose finger was on the trigger?
Who was the aggressor?
She was threatening him with a gun.
If he is the aggressor, then this is a murder. If she is the aggressor, this was either self-defense or an accident.
This is the 9mm gun.
This is the actual gun. It's cocked now. There is no external safety on this gun. And so any slight pull of the trigger would cause it to go off.
There was no single piece of physical evidence that really conclusively pointed towards a particular verdict.
Did you intentionally shoot your wife?
No, ma'am. I love my wife.
It was just after 3 a.m. in the warm Houston summer of 2019 when first responders arrived at Renard and Patricia Spivey's home and found 52-year-old Patricia dead in the closet from multiple gunshot wounds.
We can definitely see a wound in her abdomen right there.
Okay. Will it be the entry point?
It looks like it. We don't know if that's the only one, but that's definitely one there. Those signs of life.
Her husband, Renard, had a bullet in his leg. He told officers the two had been arguing and fighting over a gun when it fired.
What'd you shoot her?
We was tussling in the chest and in the arm.
Renard Spivey, a sheriff's deputy with Harris County, worked as a bailiff in courts.
You're a deputy, sergeant, lieutenant, deputy? Okay.
And played a bailiff on TV.
All rise.
For Justice for All with Judge Cristina Perez.
I'm giving you one more chance to tell me the truth.
Renard didn't say much more about what happened. Police detained him and had him transported to a hospital. Patricia's 83-year-old father, who suffered from dementia, was also living with the Spiveys. He was sleeping when the gunshots erupted.
What happened?
You didn't hear anything?
I haven't did anything.
I know, we just need your statement.
First responders on the scene wondered how a gun could go off multiple times by accident.
If you get shot once, you're not gonna make the gun go off again.
That's what I'm saying.
And why a man of Renard's size, around 6'3" and weighing around 290 pounds, would need to struggle with his smaller wife to take control over a gun.
So you're that big and you're fighting for the gun?
I don't know, but that was a big dude. That was a big dude. Big dude.
It's got a bunch of trophies inside, bodybuilding trophies.
Does it?
Just gotta call homicide, and it just doesn't make sense, bro.
It was more like, what happened? Because like I said,
Patrina Marshall, Patricia's daughter from a previous relationship, arrived at the scene.
Did my mom do something? Did Renard do something? Like, what, did somebody do something to them? Like, I didn't know what to expect.
Patrina says an officer told her her mother had died during a struggle with her husband.
When he told you she didn't make it, had to be very tough to hear that.
It was.
But you held it together.
I don't know, something really weird happened to me. I don't know, it's just like, I just kind of shut down. And everything just became really numb. I still have not cried.
Patrina says she regrets not seeing her mom for one last time.
I just didn't get that. And I'm like, man, so she just sitting in that closet just the whole time. So, oh my God, I'm crying.
Patrina never thought her mother's life would end this way. Her mother fell quickly for Renard.
It was like her first everything. That was her first house.
And it was Patricia's first marriage, Renard's third.
When we met, I did like it. We kind of hit it off and stuff like that.
5 years after Patricia's death, Renard shared with us his feelings for Patricia.
She was a fun person. She was spontaneous, and she was just a beautiful person.
Renard had popped the question in 2013 after Patricia pointed at a ring she liked at a store.
Right there where the ring was, I said, come here, I'll show you. I proposed, got on my knees and proposed to her.
And she said yes right away.
She said yes. And we had fun. We celebrated in Hawaii.
And then they built their dream house, a 3,000 square foot home with a 3-car garage. But within a few hours of Patricia's death, Renard found himself under suspicion for murder. At the hospital, detectives wanted to interview Renard, but he refused. He would later tell us why.
At that point, had you already gotten an attorney?
I had a union rep who was an attorney, and he came to the hospital. Union rep, he said, do not talk to him.
While investigators tried to figure out how exactly the shooting unfolded, the medical examiner was conducting an autopsy on Patricia. According to the report, Patricia had multiple gunshot entry and exit wounds, the fatal shot piercing through her lungs and heart. 48 Hours consultant and former prosecutor Lisa Andrews reviewed the case for us.
The multiple shots is definitely what gives everyone a lot of pause as to why it's not an accident. The medical examiner ruled it a homicide, which is an intentional killing.
On July 29, 2019, Renard Spivey was charged with his wife's murder.
What was that like for you, now being behind bars for somebody who had been on the other side of the law for so long?
It was tough. It was real tough. What I've been through, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
Renard's twin sister, Renee Spivey Frazier, says she found out her brother was arrested when she got a call from a relative.
And I just couldn't believe what I was hearing because I knew he loved her unconditionally.
Renard's friend, Gerald Graham, who Renard has mentored over the years, couldn't believe it either.
Like, he's the big brother, the father, the uncle.
I just want to thank y'all for all of the well wishes.
I have never seen Spivey in any kind of altercation. I've never seen him raise his voice.
Renard Spivey hired prominent criminal defense attorneys, brothers Dick and Mike DeGuerin, and Mike's son, Michael DeGuerin.
One of the things that we were able to see in this case is they had a camera system in their home, and I watched their relationship. We wanted to see if there was anything there to provide a motive for wanting her to be harmed or dead, or that there was trouble in the relationship. It was a very loving relationship, as I could tell.
But yet we know on that night, somebody went to bed angry.
It looked like she went to bed angry. He did not.
Hours after he was charged with the murder of his wife, Harris County Sheriff's Deputy Renard Spivey posted bond, $50,000.
I was in jail probably a couple of days.
And returned to the house he used to share with Patricia, where investigators believed he intentionally shot her.
When you walk in that door, do the memories come flooding right back?
Well, as soon as you go in the door and then you go in the bedroom, bam, it hits you.
Renard Spivey insists his wife's death was an accident.
I love my wife. You know, I did everything for her. Anything she wanted. I always treated her like my queen.
But Renard never gave a statement to police about how the events unfolded that night. And Patricia's family questioned the circumstances around her death and why Renard was free on bond. Patricia's cousin, Sybil Shepard.
I don't think that his bond was high enough for murder. Being a sheriff, I think he got a lot of privilege in that instance.
Patricia's loved ones call her the caregiver of the family.
She was kind of like the glue. Her being gone really you notice it that she's gone.
She did anything that she could to help people out. And you can see that just from taking care of her dad, you know, just taking on that responsibility.
Patricia worked as an executive assistant for the Methodist Hospital in Houston.
She'd go visit people in the hospital. She would go take them food, send them flowers. If nobody else was thinking of them, she was.
She just was everywhere, helping, taking pictures, giving her time, just real social.
She was very accomplished.
Renard's attorney, Dick DeGuerin, says the Spiveys had a good life.
They were very happy. They went on cruises together. Every Friday night, they had a special dinner.
How would you describe Renard Spivey?
I mean, the idea of a gentle giant. His size was, you can't avoid seeing how big he is.
Renard has been a bodybuilder since his 20s. In the aftermath of his wife's death, he was placed under house arrest, but was allowed to continue with his training.
Actually, during that period of time, it was more therapeutic for me because I've been doing it for 40 years. Because that's my love.
He was also free to go to church and spend time with his family, but he resigned from his career of more than 20 years with Harris County Sheriff's Department. His TV career also took a hit.
At the time of Patricia's death, I understand you were still taping.
Yes.
The Justice with Christina Perez show.
Well, let me say, before that, we were still taping. Then after that, we didn't do any more taping.
Renard had portrayed the bailiff for 9 years and taped more than 100 episodes.
Right here, sir.
He told us it was something his wife really liked about him.
And what did Patricia think of your television career?
Oh, she loved it. She was excited. And as a matter of fact, I took her to a couple of the Emmys.
Patricia's childhood friend, Ezra Washington, had a small part as an extra on that show and remembered meeting Renard when Patricia and Renard got together.
You recognized him right away from his time.
Renard and Ezra became close friends, but over time, even before Patricia married Renard, Ezra says Renard was controlling with her.
They were at Papado's Friday night. You know, she'd have a few, and he told her, don't drink no more. And she said, why? And he was like, 'cause I said so. And she dumped him.
The couple got back together, but their problems hardly went away, says Ezra, and eventually impacted Patricia's relationship with her cousin Sybil.
He didn't like Sybil at all. He literally just hated her. She allowed Pat to have freedom. They would go on this cruise every year, and they party, have fun, and they meet people from other parts of the country.
He definitely felt, intimidated by the relationship, that we had.
Sybil says after the couple got married, Patricia distanced herself.
It was more so trying to just put that wedge between the two of us. And it worked. I just backed off from it. I didn't want to come between somebody and their marriage.
It almost seemed like he was jealous of her relationships that he already knew she had.
Patrina says her mom and Renard had no business being married. She says their relationship became strained once they moved into their new house.
They argued quite a bit.
What did she complain about with him?
Mainly, it was libido, that he didn't want to sleep with her, and maybe she thought he was taking steroids because his whole demeanor changed and his attitude towards her changed.
Like mood swings, a lot of up and down.
Yes.
Patrina says her mom looked up some of Renard's pills and told her she found proof Renard was using steroids.
In the days leading up to the shooting, did it seem like things had intensified?
Yes.
Renard says he was never controlling with Patricia, but he doesn't deny there were issues in their marriage and says they began about a month before the shooting.
She thought I was on steroids and stuff, and I'm trying to get her to understand that my testosterone was low and I was going to a doctor.
Renard says a doctor had prescribed him testosterone shots.
What about the steroids? Were you taking steroids at that time?
Well, that was the replacement. It's called replacement therapy. That's not steroids.
Did you feel like your moods were up and down too during the time you were getting those shots? Do the shots affect your mood?
No, never.
Renard had already told police the two were arguing on that fatal night.
And she thought I probably was cheating on her or something because we wasn't intimate anymore.
And what'd you say to her?
I told her, no, that's crazy.
Security footage in the Spivey's home recorded some of the couple's movements.
She is sitting at the table at one point. Right. You walk over to her. What happened?
When I walked over to her, I was getting ready to go to bed, and every time I walk over to her, she'd turn her phone down. And then I was trying to kiss her. I'm not kissing you.
Renard says he was curious why Patricia was hiding her phone from him. After they went to bed, thinking that his wife was asleep, he says he grabbed her phone from her nightstand and brought it into the closet.
I want to see what she was looking at. And so when I grab the phone, I'm thinking she's asleep. I go in the master closet, it's dark, and it wasn't seconds before, pointing the gun at me. Give me my damn phone.
Renard says Patricia followed him into the closet with a gun.
Then when I turned around and saw her finger on the trigger, I was scared for my life. When I turned around, she had the gun pointed at me.
Tension between Renard and his wife Patricia turned frightening, he says.
I was really scared because put your finger on the trigger unless you're prepared to shoot.
When Patricia threatened him with his gun.
Where do you keep your gun?
On the dresser.
So it's on your side
on my
of the
side,
bed?
Yeah.
And is it always loaded?
It's always loaded.
Don't you talk somebody down? Like, as your police training is to de-escalate the situation.
Well, I was afraid because I've never been in a situation like that before. So the best thing I knew in my training is to try to take the weapon away from him.
Renard says he tried to do just that, and things unfolded quickly.
When I grabbed her wrist, I grabbed the top of the weapon. She pulled back with her finger on the trigger, and it went off and shot me in the leg.
So you got shot first?
I got shot first.
Then what happened?
I was in the process of falling down, and when I tried to take the weapon away from me, it went off a couple more times.
2 more times, he says. Patricia was hit in the chest and then hit by another bullet in her arm, as illustrated in the CBS News animation based on defense theory.
We're certain that the first shot that hit her went into her left chest, through her lungs, and into her heart. We think that the second shot that hit her in the right arm and went basically in and out of the bicep and then into her upper right chest.
But former prosecutor Lisa Andrews says it is not certain that only 2 shots struck her. The medical examiner thought it was possible Patricia's wounds were the result of 3 shots, 1 to the left chest, 1 to the right arm, and a 3rd to her right chest.
There's a lot of controversy about how many times she was actually shot.
1 shot is an accident. 3 shots?
Well, I mean, that's the question, right?
Investigators pored over the home surveillance. 3 gunshots are heard clearly. But authorities suspected Renard actually fired the gun 4 times. 3 bullets fired at Patricia, and then 1 Renard would have fired at himself, wounding his leg to make it seem that Patricia shot him. Investigators identified 1 piece of sound. You can hear it over the alarm ringing.
Now this next clip picks up the tap.
They say it's the gunshot, recorded about 1.5 minutes after the 3 other shots.
Different sound.
Different sound.
There was a reason they say it sounds different than the others.
Their theory was that sound, that 4th sound, was a gunshot in a different part of the house, and that was him shooting himself.
Renard Spivey denies there was a 4th gunshot.
That wasn't you shooting the 4th shot to then have a cover-up story?
No, ma'am.
Renard's attorneys, Dick and Michael DeGuerin, also listened to that surveillance tape.
It is not a gunshot.
They say the sound most likely is the click of another camera in the room being activated.
And keep in mind, there were 3 empty cartridges that were found.
But Lisa Andrews says there were other things that could point to Renard's guilt. like his call to 911.
What is your emergency?
Shots fired.
Okay, sir. Is there an actual patient there? Has someone been shot?
Yes, ma'am.
He's pretty calm. The demeanor does look pretty off to me.
Okay, where's the patient?
They on the floor, and I'm shot too.
He doesn't say my wife or she. It's an emotional step back from what has happened.
It took Renard 2.5 minutes to say he accidentally shot his wife.
Yeah, my wife had an argument. I accidentally shot her.
It's like he can't bring himself to say what he's done. For him not to reveal that information with 2 decades of law enforcement training, to me, that was consciousness of guilt.
But Renard says he wasn't hiding anything.
When you traumatized and to see your wife shot and you shot 2 at the same time, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Where's the gun?
It's on.
You can hear the strain in his voice, so you know he's in pain. He was confused and probably going into shock.
But there are other things on that tape that caught Andrew's attention.
Since she is not awake and not breathing normally, sir, we need to perform CPR on her. I said we need to perform CPR on her.
I felt this was also significant.
Mm-hmm.
I have no doubt he is trained in how to give CPR, perform it.
You can hear what sounds like Renard doing chest compressions.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
But a little while later, you can see on the home security cameras Renard takes a break without mentioning it to the 911 operator.
We need to apply firm direct pressure to your wounds and her wounds, but we still need to continue the CPR.
Okay, ma'am.
He's on the phone with 911, holding the towel on his leg.
Typically, when you're performing CPR, you don't take breaks.
Renard says he went to unlock the garage door to make sure medics could get to his wife as soon as possible.
I came right back and continued the chest compressions.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10.
He's then heard breaking down.
Ma'am.
I'm here, Mr. Spivey. Just keep going. You're doing great, sir. If you can continue, please continue.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2.
He loved her.
Happy anniversary to you too, dear.
Happy anniversary to you.
He really loved her.
Renard's twin sister is not surprised her brother was emotional.
She lost her life, and he was hurting.
But Patricia's close friend, Ezra Washington, says just 2 days before Patricia died, she told him she was fed up with Renard's controlling ways and his suspected steroid use, which she blamed for the lack of intimacy in their relationship.
She said, you know what? She said, I'm done. She said, I'm leaving.
Ezra says on the day of the shooting, he had multiple phone conversations with Renard, and that Renard told him they were getting a divorce. Ezra claims he confronted Renard about steroids.
I know you're on them steroids. Okay, man, I did. I got some product from my boy because I wanted to get lean for the cruise, but I ain't doing it no more. I said, stop lying.
Ezra says he told Renard to just leave the home, but Renard made a comment about Patricia not getting the house.
I'ma show her. I said, man, don't be stupid.
Ezra says he feels guilty for not reaching out to Patricia to warn her that night.
I didn't call. I regret that to this day.
But he told authorities about his conversations with Renard.
I told him everything.
As Patrina and Sybil waited for the case to go to trial, they had arrived at the same conclusion with Ezra, that Renard had intentionally shot and killed Patricia.
It was more or less his actions afterwards. I didn't see any remorse from him.
I don't think it was an accident.
But Renard Spivey's loved ones were convinced he would walk out a free man.
He would never, ever intentionally pull a weapon to kill. I knew him. I knew he was going to get a not guilty verdict.
As Patricia Spivey's family waited for their day in court, the coronavirus pandemic stalled the proceedings. 4.5 years passed by.
That's not justice.
Renard remained under house arrest, but after some time, his lawyers successfully filed a motion to remove his ankle monitor, and Renard joined the world of dating apps.
I probably was on maybe one or two of them, but you get lonely. You need some friends or something like that.
On November 28, 2023, Renard Spivey was back in court, this time not as a bailiff, but as the accused, facing a life sentence if convicted.
He looked totally different. He wasn't the clean-shaven, he had the gray beard.
The state told the jury Renard shot Patricia intentionally after she threatened to leave their marriage.
The prosecution's theory is that almost like he snapped. He was angry, they were arguing, he was being accused of things by her.
But according to Spivey's attorneys, this was simply a case of self-defense.
Self-defense fits because she was threatening him with a gun and he grabbed her wrist and the gun in his own defense.
They say what happened next was an accident.
It was an unintentional discharge of the gun. Several discharges of the gun. When he told me what kind of gun it was, I'd had experience with that particular model of a Smith & Wesson semi-automatic.
You have it right there.
There is no external safety on this gun. So if someone's finger is on that trigger, all it takes is a slight pressure, and it goes off. With someone that's gripping and trying to wrestle with the gun, that's enough pressure to engage the trigger and to fire the gun.
Dick DeGuerin says once fired, the semi-automatic reloads itself instantaneously.
It recharges in split seconds. Each time it's fired, it's ready to fire again.
We went with DeGuerin to the doorway of the closet in Spivey's house.
It's a pretty sizable closet. It's like
It's a big closet.
Where he showed us what he says happened.
He saw that she had her finger on the trigger. With his left hand, he grabbed her right wrist and put his right hand on the top of the gun to force it down. And she pulled back
and so she
away from me.
Okay.
And when she did that, it hit him in the left thigh. And as they fell, he grabbed her again and grabbed the gun and tried to twist it out of her hand. Her left hand came off.
Okay, left hand comes off.
And the gun went off again and shot her
in the chest.
Then, DeGuerin says the gun went off one more time, and the third shot hit Patricia in the arm.
Her hand by that time was in relationship to her body, almost vertical to her body. That's why when the bullet went in, it went in by her elbow, came back out and went into her chest.
DeGuerin says the powder burn mark on Renard's right hand proves he grabbed the gun as Patricia fired.
When the gun fires, this is where the gunpowder that's been fired comes out, and that's what burned his right hand.
But there was something that puzzled the prosecutors, and they raised it at trial.
Where's she at?
She's laying on the floor.
In Renard's telling, he and Patricia were fighting at the entrance of the closet. But Patricia's body was found deep inside the closet. Prosecutors believe it was because he cornered her.
Her body, as I understand.
Her body.
Where did it end up?
Well, it ended up over in about the area that you are. But then after...
And why? How did it end up here?
Because that's where they fell.
Where she fell.
At trial, the defense team painted Patricia as the aggressor. And they point to her internet activity that evening to demonstrate, they say, that her frustration with her husband was building. At 2:49 a.m., Patricia posted this meme on Facebook. Characterize people by their actions, and you will never be fooled by their words. At 2:59 a.m., Patricia is seen on camera for the last time. At 3:01 a.m., prosecutors suspect Patricia had enough, and you can make out her saying the words, "It's the same thing," over and over again. But DeGuerin says it is not clear what Patricia really meant.
Maybe that's what she said. But what did it mean? It's ambiguous. What is she complaining about over and over again?
At 3:03 a.m., Renard is seen in the kitchen, and then he goes into the bedroom. 4 minutes later, at 3:07, you hear those 3 gunshots.
They were in quick succession inside of 4 seconds.
And at trial, Renard Spivey told the jury his wife Patricia was the one firing.
I didn't pull the trigger.
No, your fingers weren't on the trigger.
No, ma'am, not at all.
DeGuerin says there is no evidence to contradict that. He says that a crime scene technician acknowledged at trial that the trigger was never separately swabbed for DNA.
She said, well, I was afraid that the gun would go off again. Now that tells you how dangerous that gun was.
But Patrina says her mom was not the type of person who would pull a gun on anyone.
My mom is not violent like that. It didn't make sense to me.
Instead, Patrina believes her mom was in the closet that night because she was packing.
I think she was trying to leave that night.
Prosecutors had Ezra Washington tell the jury about those phone conversations with Renard, where Renard talked about his frustrations.
I just want to get him the truth. Everything that came out of his mouth that I know.
But the prosecutors ran into a problem. They say Ezra told them he spoke to Renard using apps on his phone, and they were unable to find records of those calls. DeGuerin says he doesn't believe those conversations ever took place.
Are you saying Ezra Washington then, when he testified, because he was a key witness for the prosecution, was he lying when he talked about those phone calls?
I wouldn't call him a key witness, particularly when we were able to show that there was no record of those calls.
He didn't talk to me, he lied. He didn't talk to me.
I mean, why would he make that up?
I don't know why he would make that up.
And Renard says he had no reason to kill his wife.
Had there been conversations about separation or divorce between you and Patricia?
No.
She hadn't talked about leaving you?
No, no. All that's lies.
As the case went to the jury, no one knew who the jurors were going to believe.
It was tough. People pointing fingers at you, you did it. And I know deep inside that I didn't.
If you were on the jury, what would be the most important evidence in this case? Chat now with the 48 Hours team on Facebook and X.
I've never stopped having hope and had faith.
On December 6, 2023, after 12 hours of deliberations over 2 days, the jury in Renard Spivey's murder trial reached a verdict.
My heart is, I'm emotional. I don't know what to expect.
And found him
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. Team Spivey.
not guilty.
I fall to the floor crying. Boo crying. My attorneys helped pick me up, my family,
Very emotional.
Yeah, all.
Renard's sister, Renee, was relieved.
I wanted it to be over with because I'm concerned about him. I'm concerned about his well-being, his life, how he's handling this.
But she says there were no winners.
She lost her life, and I was feeling for her, and his life would never be the same.
On the other side of the aisle, Patricia's family and friends say they couldn't believe the jury's decision.
I'm numb. I do not believe that she received justice at all.
I feel like I held my breath and then not guilty. I don't understand how they got there. I didn't believe him.
Renard's attorney says the jurors just weren't convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that his client was the one who fired that gun.
I think was very important to the jury that the prosecution never proved whose finger was on the trigger. And it's very important because the prosecution has a burden of proof. And the gun was so important. The fact that it's such a dangerous design of a gun that will go off so easily.
There just wasn't enough evidence to disprove his story.
Since the trial, Patricia's family say they've had a hard time processing their loss.
Felt like it was way too soon for me to be at her funeral. Facebook has these memories. It just seems like every other day pictures will come up. I think about the times that, we shared, the good times.
My mom was still important. Like, she was important to me. I just miss that unconditional love. I have no anchor. Like, she's gone, so she was my anchor. Yeah. So, yeah.
I'm hurting, so I know how they feel. Actually, I would like to, come to their family, go to their family and say, hey, look, I loved her, and they knew that. It's no doubt in my mind that they knew I loved Patricia Marshall.
Renard says since his acquittal, he has been active in his community.
I work for an organization and I volunteer for Healing for Hoodies. And we feed the homeless every Sunday.
Leaning on his family and friends.
A lot of the officers, a lot of other people, we knew that you didn't do that. We knew that you would get, found not guilty. We know you. We know your character. We know what type of person you are.
Man, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. God is good. God is good.
But he says he still misses his wife.
You remember stuff that she used to like. You remember the music. You remember the food she liked. What color dress. Certain things she liked. You remember all that. So every day, it's a challenge. I can't sleep at night. I live with it every day.
Don't miss true crime anytime you want, anywhere you go with the 48 Hours podcast. Real crimes, real lives.
Like a John Grisham novel come to life.
Real justice.
There's some questions that have to be asked and need to be answered.
Listen to 48 Hours on Apple Podcasts.
Cass is a rare person. She didn't care what you thought of her. She didn't care if you liked her. She didn't care if she was too loud or too in your face. She just was.
She was your best friend, right?
Yeah, for years.
I got a pair of new shorts, this t-shirt, 2 Essie nail polishes.
She got into these things called haul videos where you would go shopping.
I will show you what I got and then I'll tell you how much everything cost.
Kind of spread the word about deals.
99 cents, $7.99, $8.99, $3.50.
She never really left home.
I got this for my mom. I got this for my mom to go with the slippers. I also got this for her.
She was always there, so we were really good friends.
On August 25th, 2020, Cassandra's mom, Marie Smith, got up. She left for work. Everything was fine.
When I came home, it was clear that she had used the master bathroom to get ready to go. All of her makeup was in there. And then I didn't hear from her. I knew she had a shopping day planned, and her friend Alexandra was going to be meeting with her the next day.
I remember I was late by about 15 minutes. I texted her, "Hey, where are you? Hey, I'm sorry I'm late." I got no response. I left panicked messages until her voicemail box was full. She never just went dark like that before. The morning of the 27th, I had text from Marie that said, "Did Cass spend the night with you? Is she at your place? Are you with her?"
She's not with you? I thought she was with you. And that's when I realized there was something wrong.
When did you call the police?
I called them later that day.
It started out like any other adult missing person case. The majority of those calls are resolved with no nefarious activity.
Maybe she's out there. The world is so wired with cameras. There's just no way that somebody didn't see something.
We're able to see the white car.
Cassandra's car.
Cassandra's car. You can see a subject getting out of the vehicle and start walking away.
That's damning evidence. That's incredibly valuable evidence for us.
You can see him walking across the street. He's dressed in all black, black shoes, black pants, black t-shirt, blue surgical gloves, and a black fedora. He knew something, he was involved, but there was something going on there we didn't know about.
Yeah, she was keeping a secret. She didn't want to tell me.
This is Ruby.
I called everybody, anybody I could think of,
This is going to be a complete pet haul only.
and nobody had heard from her.
This I got for $8 and change. It was $9 and change, $5.98.
I was hoping that she might be alive somewhere.
For Marie Smith, the realization that her daughter Cassandra Cantrell had been missing for more than 2 days was almost more than she could take.
I never thought that I'd be the person sitting here talking about my daughter. I wanted her found.
I don't even know how to explain how wrenching it is.
Marie's close friend, Christy Sinclair, says it was agony.
This can't be happening. This isn't real. She lost her phone. She lost her car. She had no money. I don't know. Anything but what you don't want to think about. Anything but that.
I'll show you this. I made it. This was only $5.
As Cassandra's family and friends grappled with her disappearance, police got to work. Pierce County Sheriff's Detective Franz Helmke was assigned to the case. His first step, talk to those who knew Cassandra best.
How did Marie describe Cassandra?
Normal?
I got her these pajamas. They're so cute.
Responsible.
Yeah, responsible. She would, call, let her know, where she was going.
Detective Helmke learned Cassandra was close with her family and good about staying in touch.
They're selling these for $15.
She enjoyed making those YouTube shopping videos and loved being on stage. She'd even joined a local production of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, where people act alongside the movie.
Damn it, Janet.
Marie says it was a perfect fit for her daughter.
She was with a group of people who were a little wacky like her. She was good, and she was adorable.
Sherry Mueller, the show's producer, recalls Cassandra's natural talent.
She was playing a character by the name of Janet Weiss. She also learned the character of Columbia.
By all accounts, at the time of her disappearance, Cassandra was a happy 33-year-old and not someone who would run off.
This wasn't the typical missing person that was going to come home in a couple days.
Detective Helmke canvassed the area around where Marie and Cassandra lived and found on a neighbor's security camera a clip of Cassandra's white Mazda on the morning of August 25th. It was seen leaving the neighborhood.
Did you see any video of the car coming back?
No.
As the hours ticked by with no sign of Cassandra, her family and friends tried to remain hopeful. It was particularly difficult for Cassandra's twin brother, Rob. Growing up, the two were inseparable and would stay up late at night to watch scary movies.
She was never scared of that stuff? No? Wow.
We laughed at most of it.
Okay. She's just a tough girl then.
Yeah.
As they got older, their shared passion for movies evolved into collecting memorabilia. They even dreamed of opening their own collectibles shop.
Half price, $2. It was only $5.
But as close as they were, Rob couldn't imagine where his sister went, and he was filled with remorse about their last conversation.
We were having an argument. She wanted to actually come over on the 25th, but I ignored her.
The 25th of August, 2020, the day Cassandra went missing.
That's a big regret, I imagine, still for you.
Yeah, because then she probably would have told me what she was doing that day, and I would have at least known where she had gone.
Cassandra's family and friends organized searches.
I can't imagine what that must feel like to be out there searching and knowing what you could possibly be looking for.
You put it in the back, you don't think about that. It's just help me find a clue, help me find a clue.
And then, 3 days after Cassandra vanished, police found her white Mazda, unlocked, with the keys still inside.
It was almost underneath Interstate 705, which goes into the heart of the downtown Tacoma.
It's an industrial area where groups of homeless people often camp.
There are cars in the area. Did something happen down here?
Strange place for a young woman to park a car and then go missing.
Yeah.
Are alarm bells going off then?
Yeah, increasingly.
She had clearly gotten ready to go somewhere. Where did she go? Who did she go to see?
Detective Helmke had ordered an emergency trace on Cassandra's cell phone to try and find her last known location. And he discovered her phone last pinged about 2 miles south of a tower on Vashon Island in the Puget Sound.
One of the first things I did was just get on Google Earth and strike an arc from that tower to see where it lands. And it showed us landing around this shoreline at Owen Beach or Point Defiance Park.
And when you're seeing this huge body of water, you're thinking, we're just never going to be able to find this.
Yeah.
Investigators chasing that last ping from Cassandra's cell phone knew it was somewhere here in the vast waters of the Puget Sound, which is nearly 100 miles long.
What's the next step about trying to recover that?
We debated about that because it's a needle in a haystack. It's a huge body of water. This is the vicinity that it showed up as being at.
But Detective Helmke had a starting point. He knew someone likely had tossed the phone into the water from Owen Beach. Finding it was a long shot, but Detective Sergeant Brent Van Dyke was up for the challenge. He brought the Pierce County Metro dive team out to the beach on a summer day.
We got lucky with the tides that day. The tide was extremely low, so it made our search area a little less.
Van Dyke had a plan to dramatically reduce the area where the phone might be. First, he asked members of his team to throw stones from the beach. to simulate how far someone could throw a cell phone.
If you picture throwing something from here, it limits the distance that I would have to search for what he threw.
The dive team then formed a line, essentially creating an underwater dragnet.
We had a boat out in the water and a line of people on snorkel that day, just looking down.
They were told that Cassandra's phone had a case decorated with glitter. This is the actual underwater footage. The dive team was in the water for little more than an hour when, incredibly,
One of the guys on the line said, "Hey, I think I got it." They saw a sparkle. And I think I got the phone, and it was the phone.
the phone was sent to a specialist to determine if any information could be recovered. The hunt to find Cassandra was intensifying as detectives learned more about her.
She felt like she could tell you pretty much everything about what was going on in her life, right?
Yes.
Even her deepest, darkest secrets, she would tell you first.
Yep.
And a month before she disappeared, Cassandra confided a secret to her best friend.
She texted me a positive pregnancy test and said, "I think I might be preggers."
And the day she was supposed to meet Alexandra but never showed up, it was going to be her first ultrasound. For Detective Franz Helmke, learning Cassandra had been pregnant at the time of her disappearance changed everything.
This is what is now piquing my interest.
Normally in a situation where a pregnant woman disappears, you look at who the partner is first.
Correct.
Cassandra had also told her mother she was pregnant, but didn't provide details.
I asked Marie, did she tell you who the father was? And she says, well, it was some guy she met online or through a dating app.
She told me it was not somebody that she was actually seeing and that he didn't even live in the area.
It was no secret Cassandra was actively dating, using apps like Tinder. And Marie told detectives about an old boyfriend Cassandra was still in touch with, Colin Dudley. The two had dated back in 2006 while in the Rocky Horror acting group. The show's producer, Sherry Mueller.
Colin played a character called the criminologist on stage. Outside of the stage, when he wasn't performing, he was the head of tech, and he kind of ran the cast.
But after dating for several months, Colin and Cassandra broke up. Colin started a relationship with another cast member, Rebecca Fisher, and the two eventually moved in together. Steve Ammon hung out at their home regularly to play a game called Dungeons and Dragons.
Explain what Dungeons and Dragons is. It's not a board game, right?
No, not a traditional board game. It's more of a theater of the mind type gameplay, doing things that you wouldn't normally do in real life. A role play, a wizard, a rogue, a fighter.
The game always took place in Colin's basement.
Colin was kind of the dungeon master of it, the one who ran the show.
And Steve liked being around him. Colin was quick to help if someone needed money, he says. And he still remembers the meals Colin cooked for game nights.
He was a chef by profession, so it was nice food.
In 2014, after Colin's father died, he rekindled a friendship with Cassandra.
She assured me, that she was just there to be a friend. She's like, he's got a girlfriend.
According to Marie, Cassandra and Colin would sometimes watch movies or grab a bite to eat. At some point, Alexandra says, even though Colin was living with Rebecca, his relationship with Cassandra once again turned romantic. And Cassandra told Alexandra that Colin was the father of her baby.
She was very excited. She talked about, names and games she wanted at the baby shower. She had a Amazon registry already made.
Cassandra's only hesitation whether she should tell Colin. He was with Rebecca and had mentioned he didn't want to have kids. But Alexandra says Cassandra did tell Colin she was pregnant, and he was okay with it.
She called me, and she said, well, I told him, and it went better than expected. He was calm and said not to worry about it, and that they would talk.
Detective Helmke wondered if Colin knew where Cassandra was.
We're just trying to follow up with people who knew Cassandra, you know, places she likes to go that we could maybe look.
Colin sat and talked with Detective Helmke on his front porch, and the conversation was recorded.
This is a recorded statement. We're going to be taken from Colin Patrick Dudley. So, you know, we just kind of begin with just simple, hey, tell us about you and Cassandra. How did you meet?
I met her at the Rocky Horror Picture Show. We were in a relationship for a couple of months, and then we broke up in 2006.
I then started kind of running some of these things by him that people were telling me. Talking to other people, talking to Cassandra's family and some other friends. They reported that she was about 10 weeks pregnant. And what we've been hearing is that she's been telling people that you are the father.
No way. No. Hell no.
Colin was adamant he and Cassandra were not in a relationship, and he was most definitely not the father of her child.
I asked him, are you sure? You know, no one-night stands, no, you know, hookups after the fact or anything like that. No, absolutely not, he says.
In fact, Colin insisted he hadn't seen or spoken to Cassandra since they broke up back in 2006, except once when he ran into her at the mall.
Do you have no contact with her, no messages or no Facebook or anything?
No.
Helmke believed Colin was lying, but could he prove it? It turned out a clue to finding the answer was in Marie's paperwork. Detective Helmke believed Colin Dudley was lying when he said he had not seen or spoken to Cassandra for years. But it was Cassandra's mother, Marie, who provided some proof. She had been combing through Cassandra's old phone bills where she noticed a mystery number that kept reappearing.
We didn't know whose it was because it didn't have a name attached to it.
Going back how far in the past?
Oh, we looked back months and months, you know, as far back as we could see. This number kept popping up.
And the last time it popped up, Marie told Detective Helmke, was the morning Cassandra disappeared.
I said, so, okay, so what's that number? And she tells me, I immediately know it's Colin's.
Helmke wanted forensic investigators to take a closer look at Dudley's phone, which Detective Helmke had taken when they'd met on Dudley's front porch.
I told him, you know, I have a warrant to seize your phone. I read him the warrant, grabbed the phone, and we left.
Investigators later obtained the phone records for both Cassandra and Colin's phones. They were turned over to Detective Ryan Salmon, the cell phone forensics analyst for the Sheriff's Department. Salmon noticed something curious. The name Cassandra never appeared in Colin's phone.
What name was he using for Cassandra?
He had it under Velma.
Why Velma?
We learned later through Cassandra's mother that she had gone as Velma from Scooby-Doo as a Halloween costume.
And it's likely, Salmon said, that Colin Dudley did not want his live-in girlfriend to know he was still in touch with Cassandra. Even without the information from her waterlogged phone, Salmon was able to see when and where she and Colin interacted simply by having those phone records.
It's extremely helpful in determining where somebody was during a critical time frame. People have a cell phone with them almost all day, every day.
The phone records showed Cassandra's white Mazda driving to the spot where it was found. But had Cassandra or someone else parked it there? Detective Helmke knew the city's light rail system was nearby and asked their security people if they could find any footage of Cassandra's car. What they found proved crucial.
We have the video you want. You need to get it down here and look at it.
These videos have never been shown publicly. In this video from a moving light rail train taken the late morning of August 25th, Helmke could see a man in a black hat walking away from where Cassandra's car was parked. Then a different camera shows that same man from a much closer angle.
He'll cross right in front of this camera. So he comes walking across, and you see all black, the blue gloves, then the fedora, and he just sits down at the stop.
The time was 11:50 a.m. The man sits for 4 minutes and then keeps walking.
Now he gets up and continues walking.
His face, covered by some type of mask, is hard to see, but based on his build and gait, Helmke suspected that Colin Dudley was the man wearing that fedora. The detective had been told that Colin often had asked, demanded even, that people call him Hat or Hat Man.
Was he always wearing a hat?
He would put it on and switch into his persona of the Hat Man and preferred to be called the Hat Man.
Alexandra McNary had heard all about it from Cassandra.
The persona was basically the main character from Clockwork Orange.
Hi there, my little droogies.
Very dark, intentionally so, morally dubious.
Did you see the security video at all of the man in the hat?
I did get to see it.
And did you look at it and say, that's Colin?
Well, who else would it be?
In that video from the light rail system, the man in the hat keeps walking right into the Tacoma Dome Station parking garage, only blocks away from where Cassandra's car was found. Helmke asked security personnel at the garage if they had any footage. The answer was a resounding yes.
They find him walking into the parking garage to a truck.
You can see him using a remote-controlled opener, gets into the truck, and then as he exits the parking garage, you can see pretty clearly in the video the license plate, which comes back to Mr. Dudley.
That was Colin's Chevy truck, proving the detective said that the man in the video and Colin Dudley were one and the same. Detective Helmke was convinced that Colin had done something to Cassandra, and he wanted to get into Dudley's house immediately.
We don't have a body. We don't have any true evidence that Cassandra's dead. We're still hoping maybe she is tied up in the basement.
6 days after Cassandra Cantrell vanished, a SWAT team burst into Colin Dudley's house.
What do you think is the strongest piece of evidence connecting Colin Dudley to Cassandra's disappearance? Chat now with the 48 Hours team on Facebook and X.
Authorities were out in force after they raided Colin Dudley's house, but they found no sign of Cassandra.
Cassandra was not found inside, but Colin was detained temporarily for us to do the fingerprints and DNA.
Investigators seized several items from the house, including Colin's Chevy Colorado truck and a black fedora.
I don't know if it's the same one he's wearing in the video or not. There were numerous areas that they identified in the basement where there was possible DNA blood evidence. They said that the cadaver dogs showed particular interest in the basement, specifically a brown sofa in the basement.
Detective Helmke believes something terrible had happened to Cassandra. Dudley had stopped talking to investigators, but his live-in girlfriend, Rebecca Fisher, a carpenter, agreed to sit down for an interview.
Do you think he would be capable of hurting Cassandra?
After a 13-second pause,
physics would say, yes, he's got size and strength on her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he would. No, he would not.
And investigators could not prove otherwise. Dudley was free to go.
Why can't you arrest him?
Well, he's guilty of something, but what is he guilty of?
Detective Helmke wanted to know every move Dudley made on August 25th, the day Cassandra went missing. And he said it became clear that Dudley had hatched a well-thought-out plot to get rid of Cassandra.
He had planned this and probably was pretty meticulous in his planning.
In his police interview, Dudley said that early on the morning Cassandra disappeared, he visited Costco.
So the first stop he makes is at a Costco gas station.
Then he went to a second Costco to pick up supplies for what he had told detectives was a spring cleaning. Investigators subpoenaed receipts and the store provided video. Here, surveillance cameras pick up Dudley in the store around 7 a.m.
This is where he said he stopped because he needed supplies for his spring cleaning.
Correct, yes.
The video is so crystal clear.
We think that probably the garbage sacks.
Store records show that Dudley purchased a box of heavy-duty trash bags.
Goes back to his house.
Right.
Detectives say then Dudley dropped off the supplies at home and drove to the Tacoma Dome Station parking garage, arriving at 8:17 a.m.
We have surveillance video for that too, which shows that truck again. Now in the back, you'll see a bike, and then you'll see him get out and put on a helmet and get on a bike and ride it away.
Dudley left his truck in the garage and began pedaling home. It's about a 20-minute ride. Investigators believe he wanted to be home by 9 a.m. because, as it turns out, he and Cassandra had made plans at his house. Sure enough, text records show that Cassandra was outside Colin's house at 8:49 a.m.
She said, "I'm a bit early, that okay?"
And he says?
He says, "Yep, come on down." And those two messages were both deleted out of his phone.
And so the two phones are then pinpointed in that same location at the house for a couple of hours.
Right.
For a little more than 2 hours, neither phone showed any movement. And it was during this period of time investigators believe Colin Dudley likely killed Cassandra Cantrell.
Shows you the amount of premeditation that went into planning this.
Right.
It appears investigators say that around 11:40 a.m., Dudley turned off his cell phone, as Cassandra's phone shows it moving away from the house. Detective Salmon says that's because Dudley had her phone with him as he drove her car to the spot where he abandoned it, near the light rail station.
He turns his cell phone off, but doesn't turn her cell phone off and is driving around with it? What was he thinking?
Apparently he wasn't thinking well enough. Not as smart as he thought he was.
You'll see Cassandra's car.
Is that it right there?
Yep,
The white
that white
car?
one coming down.
And then you see Dudley in the hat walking away from her car. Remember how he paused for a few moments and sat down? Detective Salmon believes he was gathering himself after murdering Cassandra.
I think he's just physically tired because of probably how violent the incident was.
Detectives say Dudley then retrieved his truck from the garage where he had stashed it earlier that day, drove to Owen Beach, and tossed Cassandra's phone into the Puget Sound.
And what time roughly was that last ping?
It was around 12:45 p.m.
But while investigators had discovered her phone in the water, they still hadn't found Cassandra. They had no idea what Dudley had done with her. But they did have his Chevy Colorado truck, and Helmke had an idea.
As an investigator, I've been exposed to different technologies, and we knew cars had electronic evidence contained in them.
Almost every car or truck has reams of data that can be extracted, as illustrated here.
So this is where the major break in the case came through.
You can turn your cell phone off and not necessarily be able to track, but you can't turn your car's black box off.
Exactly.
Helmke got a warrant to remove the truck's black box, essentially a computer that tracks and records nearly every move a vehicle makes. He reviewed the data, which confirmed much of what they already knew from the phone records. But there was something new that caught everyone's attention. The truck's black box had a record of Colin Dudley's movements on August 26th, the day after Cassandra visited his house.
And this is the next morning.
Correct. So now we're at 6 a.m. And then, of course, we noticed where the vehicle stops. that there's a large wooded ravine.
On September 22, 2020, Detective Sergeant Brent Van Dyke rushed to that ravine, which is 8 miles from Dudley's house. It was nearly a month since Cassandra had gone missing.
I got there first and looked over the hillside, and you could clearly see that there was a garbage can halfway down the hill. You could see that the garbage can had a bag liner and some ropes around it.
He also spotted blood.
So you clearly at this point knew you had remains.
Oh, absolutely.
Helmke, also at the scene, wanted to make a quick identification, and he knew that Cassandra had a distinctive tattoo.
I asked them to take a picture of it, so they took a picture and came walking up the hill.
Helmke recognized the tattoo immediately. Cassandra Cantrell was dead. Helmke's heart sank when he thought about calling Cassandra's mother.
So I called Marie and told her that I had information that I needed to share with her.
My first question was, is she okay? And he said, no, I'm sorry. She's not.
Cassandra's twin brother, Rob, overheard that phone call.
The second I heard her screaming, I knew that they had found her.
Colin Dudley was arrested that night and later charged with first-degree murder. Investigators felt they had built a strong case, so strong that they decided not to try and retrieve the information on Cassandra's waterlogged phone. The case barreled toward trial for 2 years, and then Cassandra's friends and family heard that prosecutors were considering making a plea deal with Dudley. They could not believe it.
It was premeditated. It was literally cold-blooded. I have no words.
A lot of anger, though.
A lot.
See more evidence of how the case against Colin Dudley came together at 48hours.com.
She was an optimist. She never lost that. Even up until the end. I believe that she entered his house hopeful.
Hopeful that Colin Dudley was getting comfortable with her pregnancy. Instead, investigators believe he brutally murdered her. An autopsy revealed exactly how brutal.
There were fractures, major fractures to her skull.
So hit over the head.
Yeah.
Many times.
Cause of death was a blunt force trauma.
Investigators say they were never able to identify a murder weapon, but they did find those traces of blood, likely Cassandra's, in Dudley's basement.
Basement floor, walls, a stainless steel table, and the laundry room sink.
Police suspect Colin cleaned the basement multiple times after killing Cassandra and kept her body there overnight before dumping her in that ravine the next morning. And they believe Colin's live-in girlfriend, Rebecca, was home during some of that time.
And thinking about, Rebecca's there in the house too.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Was there any thought that she had to have been involved?
There was no, some people thought that.
Investigators confronted Rebecca.
Did you have anything to do with the disappearance of Cassandra on any level?
Nope.
We did not find any information that she knew that it went on, that she had anything to do with it. They kept separate areas of the house. And so I could see, her doing her own thing and not going down the basement. Yeah.
But Rebecca did confirm to police that Colin never wanted to be a father.
He does not want to be a dad.
Pierce County Deputy Prosecutors Brian Wassenkary and Patrick Vincent went to work on proving Colin's guilt.
I thought this was a very strong case, at least circumstantially. Oddly, it's not one in which we had a great deal of physical evidence. It was a case that relied on essentially digital records.
Like that video of Colin leaving Cassandra's car. Those phone records placing Cassandra at Colin's house the morning she disappeared. And the data showing Colin's truck where Cassandra's remains were eventually found. For the prosecutors, it seemed like a lot, but they were concerned about convincing a jury at trial.
We don't have an eyewitness. We don't have a murder weapon. We don't have a confession.
So when the defense offered to accept a plea deal, the prosecutors negotiated. Eventually, Colin Dudley agreed to plead guilty to murder in the first degree for killing Cassandra. The prosecutors brought the deal to Cassandra's family. They were furious. But on November 14, 2022, Colin Dudley formally entered his guilty plea.
With regard to the charge, murder in the first degree, having pleaded guilty and not guilty.
Guilty. He was sentenced to 26 years in prison.
I have no words that would even encompass the frustration, anger, sadness, heartache.
Cassandra's family and friends had wanted a trial where the full story was told. They're also upset that someone guilty of murdering a pregnant woman would only get 26 years in prison.
You think the system is broken?
Very broken in this case. How is it that somebody can do what he did and not have to spend his life in prison?
It was a sentiment Steve Ammon shared. He felt betrayed by his one-time friend and had even written a letter to the judge saying he should not be out at all. He won't learn from this. Colin Dudley likely will get out, and with good behavior, he could be free again as early as 2044.
He should never see the light of day again.
Because when he gets out, he could be in his early 60s.
Yeah, and he's still got all that time to live.
Cassandra's family wants to make sure that no one else suffers the way they say they have. They would like a law in Washington state that if someone is guilty of knowingly killing a pregnant woman, they would automatically get a life sentence.
No possibility of parole, you die in jail. Until there's any sort of resemblance of justice, I'm not letting this go.
And while the family wages that fight, Cassandra's twin brother is trying to honor his sister in other ways she would have loved.
You did, though, finally open that dream that you had together, your own store.
Yes, and I got a big mural of her hanging in the window, and then photos throughout the store of her. It's a living tribute to her.
The store is not far from Cassandra's grave, where he and his mom go to visit her.
You know, say hi, keep her headstone clean, bring her flowers.
Do you think what life could be like with her now if she had had the chance to live her life and be a mom?
Yeah, I think about it a lot because she had all of these plans, you know. She had all of these sweet plans.
Marie says her daughter lived life to the fullest, immortalized by that distinctive tattoo she had of her favorite quote.
We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. She always had something up her sleeve. She would spring little surprises on me. And that's what I miss most, is just a happy presence.
A loving mother of two, fatally shot in her home. But how?
I knew something was wrong with this case from the start.
There were so many things that were not done.
A father's relentless pursuit of the truth.
He just led us for 9 years, still leading us.
48 Hours, next on CBS, streaming on Paramount+.